This is an instructional video on how to find the volume of a cone. For the volume of a cone, we're going to use the formula V equals pi r squared h. That part is exactly like the cylinder. And we're going to add one more step, dividing by 3. Just like with the cylinder, r stands for the radius, which is the half part of the circle. Sometimes you'll be given the diameter, letter D, which stands for the entire circle, the whole line of the circle. And then H stands for height, from the point of the cone to the circle. You can use 3 values for pi. The pi symbol is represented by 3.14. You could also use the fraction 22 over 7. If nothing is specified, you use the pi button on the calculator. We are going to round to 1 decimal place, which is the 10th value. For this problem, we're going to use our formula, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3. It tells us that our radius is 5 inches, so 5 squared. Our height, the line going the length of the cone, is 12. Our height goes in parentheses. We solve the 5 squared first. 5 squared is 25. 25 times 12 is going to give us 300. 300 divided by 3 is 100. We always save pi for last. And it tells us to use 3.14 for pi. So we're going to do 100 times 3.14, which is going to give us 314. 314 inches cubed. You use the same units, inches and inches, and volume always has a cubed as its exponent. For this problem, again, we're going to use our cone formula, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3. For this problem, it gives us D for the diameter. We do not want the diameter, we only want half of the circle. So instead of 22, we're going to do half of that. We're going to do 11. Our radius is 11. Our height going up and down is 10. 11 squared is 121. 121 times 10 is 1,210. 1,210 divided by 3 is 403.33. It's a big long decimal. The decimal that continues on is 0.3 repeating. You can put the line on top to show a repeating decimal. 403.3 repeating pi. We are going to stop there for our answer because the directions say to leave your answer in terms of pi. In terms of pi means that the pi symbol is in the final answer. 403.3 repeating pi. For this problem, it doesn't give us a picture, but it does give us the radius and the height. So we can go ahead and plug it into our cone formula, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3. Our radius, it tells us, is 8, so 8 squared, and our height is 2. 8 squared is going to give us 64. 64 times 2 is going to give us 128. 128 divided by 3 is going to give us 42.6 repeating. That decimal repeats. The directions say to use 22 over 7 for pi. So we're going to do 42.6 repeating times the fraction 22 over 7. We get 134.09. We are going to round our final answer to 1 decimal place. Looking at the 9, if it's 5 and higher, we round up. 4 and less, we round down. 9 is in the 5 and higher category, so we round up. 0.0 turns into a 0.1. We round up. 134.1. For this problem, we're using our formula for the cone, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3. This problem gives us the diameter. We do not want the diameter, we want the radius. The radius is half, so instead of 6, we're going to use 3. So 3 squared is our radius, and our height is 4. 3 squared is going to give us 9. 9 times 4 is going to give us 36. 36 divided by 3 is going to give us 12. And the directions say to use 3.14 for pi. So 12 times 3.14 is going to give us 37.68. But we want to round it to 1 decimal place. So we look at the second decimal place, and if it's 5 or higher, we round up. 4 and less, we round down. We have an 8, so that's going to be 5 or higher, meaning 0.6 is going to round up into a 0.7. 37.7. So again, for this problem, it gives us the radius and the height, so we can plug those into our cone formula, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3. The radius 2.5 squared, the height is 2. 2.5 squared is going to give us 6.25 times 2 is going to give us 12.5 divided by 3 is going to give us 4.16 repeating. It tells us to leave our answer in terms of pi. And so we're going to leave this pi symbol in our answer. 4.16 repeating, pi. A cone has a volume of 942 cubic inches and a height of 9 inches. What is the radius of the cone? So again, for the cone, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3. For this problem, it gives us the answer, 942. It tells us that the height is 9. But it does not tell us the radius. We're trying to find the radius out. So we have to work backwards. We're going to do the opposite operation. Instead of dividing by 3, we're going to multiply by 3. 942 times 3 is going to give us 2826. Instead of multiplying by 9, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by 9, which is going to give us 314. Instead of multiplying by pi, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by pi. The directions tell us to use 3.14. So 314 divided by 3.14 is going to give us 100. And our last step, because we have an exponent 2, we have to do the opposite of the exponent 2. We're going to take the square root. The square root of 100 is 10. Our radius is 10. A tea vendor gives samples of tea in a cone-shaped cups. The cups have a diameter of 4 inches. So right there, I already know that we need to change this to radius. And instead of 4, we're going to use half of it. We're going to use 2. And a height of 5 inches. So we can go ahead and solve for our cone cup. Pi r squared h divided by 3. The radius is 2 and the height is 5. 2 squared is going to give us 4. 4 times 5 is going to give us 20. 20 divided by 3 is going to give us 6.6 repeating. It does not tell us to use 3.14 or 22/7, so we're going to use the pi button. 6.6 repeating times our pi button is going to give us 20.94. We look at that second decimal place and decide if we need to round up or round down. 5 and higher, we round up. 4 and less, we round down. It's a 4, so we round down, meaning the 0.9 stays the same. 20.9 is our volume. Now, the rest of the question says, if there are about 0.55 fluid ounces in 1 cubic inch, how many fluid ounces of tea are in 1 sample cup hold? Round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to take our answer, because that's how many cubic inches there are, and we're going to multiply it by the 0.55, and we get an answer of 11.495. It wants us to round to the nearest tenth. That means 1 decimal place. So we look at the second decimal place. 5 and higher, we round up. 4 and less, we round down. It's a 9. 9 is in the 5 and higher category, so we round up. 11.5. A cone has a volume of 7,065 inches cubed and the height is 30 inches. What is the radius of the cone? So again, we're going to take our formula, V equals pi r squared h divided by 3, and we're going to fill in our values, starting with the answer for the volume, 7,065. We do not know the radius, but we know the height is 30. And we have to work backwards to find the radius. So to work backwards, meaning we do the opposite. Instead of dividing by 3, we multiply by 3. 7,065 times 3 is going to give us 21,195. Instead of multiplying by 30, we do the opposite. We divide by 30, which gives us 706.5. Dividing by pi, 3.14, is going to give us 225. To solve r squared, the opposite of the exponent 2 is the square root symbol. The square root of 225 is 15. The radius is 15. Tess gets a snow cone in a cone-shaped container. The container has a diameter of 3 inches. We already know that we need to use the radius. Half of 3 is 1.5, and a height of 5 inches. So we can start by solving for our cone, pi r squared h divided by 3, using our radius 1.5 squared and our height 5. 1.5 squared is going to give us 2.25 times the height, 5, 2.25 times 5 is 11.25. Divide by 3, 11.25 divided by 3 is 3.75. Times the pi button, because it does not tell us 3.14, it does not tell us 22/7. We get 11.78. We look at that second decimal place and decide if we round up or down. 5 and higher, we round up. 4 and less, we round down. 8 is 5 or higher, so that 0.7 rounds up to a 0.8. But we're not finished. That's just the volume. We have a volume of 11.8, but it costs 20 cents per cubic inch. So we have to take our answer and multiply it by the price. 11.8 times the 0.20 is going to give us 2.36. We are going to leave this answer with 2 decimal places because it asks us how much would the snow cone cost. Money is always 2 decimal places, and so it's going to cost $2.36.